Welcome to an all-new Nevada Newsmakers. We all know there's no love lost between the governor and Congressman Gibbons. Well, now the wives are getting into the act. Paul Mozen has the details.
Thank you, Randy. I am a doctor, but I don't play one on TV. And today, we have the First Lady of Nevada, Dema Guinn. We're going to ask her about the recent article in the Reno Gazette-Journal and a bunch of other topics.
And we have a pundit panel so powerful, we only need two. We have Mike Hackett and Susan Fisher on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the world's largest industrial park, the resort at Red Hawk, and the Peppermill family of casinos.
Welcome to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, just 10 minutes east of Sparks. We're proud that Walmart and other Fortune 500 companies have chosen Tahoe Reno Industrial Center to relocate their businesses. We have sites from under 5 acres to well over 500 acres, and with all of the amenities that every successful corporation requires. Welcome to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the largest industrial park in the world, and we're building economic prosperity for Nevadans.
Something spectacular has taken wing not far from Reno or Lake Tahoe, and never far from your mind. An escape of fine dining and legendary golf. Introducing the resort at Red Hawk. And at the center of it all, we've feathered our nest with new villas that have elevated Red Hawk to the status of a premier resort. The resort at Red Hawk, a beautiful new arrival in northern Nevada.
As an employer, did you know you can be held liable for negligent hiring? A background screening by Employer Links can uncover criminal records, like alcohol and drug convictions. It can verify the applicant's education, driving records, and professional licenses. Employer Links can check civil records, registered sex offender records, and Social Security fraud. Hiring the right person shouldn't be a gamble. Call Employer Links. Employer Links, protecting your investment.
I tell you, John, this industry has really changed.
Tell me about it.
You seemed to do pretty well last year. What's your secret?
No secrets. Although I'll tell you something. The smartest thing I did was sign up with Pro Group Management.
Really? Yeah, they do workers' comp, right?
Yeah, their services are great. And get this, they saved me 30%. I've heard they saved others 50%.
That works for me.
Pro Group Management. Finally, workers' comp that works for you.
You are watching Nevada Newsmakers.
Welcome back to an all-new Nevada Newsmakers. We're very happy to have the First Lady of Nevada, Mrs. Guinn, on our show today. Welcome, Mrs. Guinn.
Thank you.
Well, we can't help but start. We have to start with the article that came out, and I imagine you and Ray Hager are probably going to be talking too much in the near future. But what's your opinion of the article? Are you happy with how it came out, or would you like to have seen it differently?
Well, yes and no, but I like Ray, and he had asked me a direct question and on my position, and I answered it the way that I felt. We have a position here that two people have a disagreement. One thinks it can be a weekend job, and that's fine if that's how she feels, but I feel like it's a part-time, not a part-time job, it's a full-time job.
Very true.
Not to beat a dead horse. Do you think that if the roles were reversed, and we've heard this, if it was a female governor, and would you expect her husband to act in the same way?
Well, we have several situations like that now, and we meet every year back in Washington, D.C., and we have some of the men with us as first ladies. And, Christy Todd Whitman, that's a perfect example. When she was governor, her husband had to be the first lady position, too, and take care of the kids and help her on many of her programs. And I know there's a lot of first ladies that have jobs, but most of them are in the same town that they live, and some have tried and had to quit their jobs because it was just too much for them to handle. I'm not saying that someone cannot handle that. I was just saying that I think it's a full-time job. Just from my experience, the last 7 years that I've been there.
Well, and it's sort of a choice, too. I mean, you chose to
Oh,
make
yes.
that your
Yes.
full-time job. And imagine some other woman coming in, or man coming in, would probably approach it differently. But it's truly your opinion, and it was truly your choice.
It's absolutely. I feel this way, and that's my opinion.
And you're allowed to have your opinion.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Along those lines, what is, in terms of the role of the First Lady, what are some of the duties that you have?
Where do I start?
Alphabetical.
Early in the morning. My duties, well, first of all, is to represent the people of Nevada and to work for the people of Nevada. I travel all over the state. I have to fill in a lot of times for my husband. I mean, I can be somewhere at a lunch and they'll call me up and said, the governor is supposed to be down in Vegas. We need someone down there, so I have to get on the plane and fly down there. And then I have all of the events that I do at the mansion, and it's through the week. It's not just weekends. It's from Monday to Sunday. Sometimes I have 3 events at the mansion at one time. I'll have them outside in the Nevada room and in the mansion. But we have a separate area off the side, and we can have a dinner there for 165 people for a sit-down dinner. We never had that before. This is the first time.
It's that new building.
It's a new building.
Right. It's very versatile location, I must admit, having gone to several events there.
It is. So
and very popular.
Yes, and we just finished an event last week where we had 900 people. The largest event I've had there has been 1,000. And so it's, you have to work on it. It takes months to put things together like that.
Well, there isn't a statutory explanation of what the First Lady should do, but there is a voter support. There is voter actually empathy. What have you heard in the years that you've run for office with your husband? What have the voters told you they expect from our First Lady?
Well, they want to see the First Lady. They want to see the First Lady out in the community. They want to see the First Lady with the governor. They like that. Now, it doesn't have to be that way. There again, I'm just telling you my experience. And I look at it, I want to be here. I want this to be a full-time job, and I've made it a full-time job because if I had my wish, it would be I could have more hours so I could accomplish more. I think there's so much to do in this state, and it takes a lot of time to do it.
Yeah. A lot of the questions that we got via email, I'm sorry I interrupted you, didn't I? I just jumped in there. We're kind of questioning, would you advise the next woman, let's say a man does win governor again, would you advise the next First Lady to quit her job, to give up her career for that time?
Not.
Or is it pretty much her choice?
I think it's her choice. I stressed that I thought it would be difficult because of the time zone. I was asked this if I thought that, the jet lag. Yes, I do. When I was working on Sarah Winnemucca, I was back there 3 times in 1 month. I was exhausted just with the jet lag because you have to go in to Arizona, you have a layover in Arizona, and it depends on the weather, and it's not easy. Now, if I could get on a plane and be there within an hour, that's a different story. But that's only my opinion again. But no, I would not advise someone to do it. I just agree with, I think it's a full-time job.
I can understand that. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with Mrs. Guinn.
For a videotape copy of any Nevada Newsmakers program, call 775-857-2244. The tapes are $20 each, including shipping.
For more than a decade, the Southern Nevada Water Authority has been helping the community embrace conservation as a way of life. That includes replacing more than 50 million square feet of grass with water-smart landscaping. During the worst drought on record, watering restrictions and tough landscaping codes have reduced the community's water use by billions of gallons, even as thousands of new residents were moving into Nevada. That's smart water management, and that's our promise to Nevada.
Reno's best dining values are all at one casino, the Pepper Mill. You can enjoy great savings on our popular specials. Pepper Mill's coffee shop offers daily lunch specials, low-carb dining, and all your favorite comfort foods. You'll find sensational lunch specials featuring Reno's freshest seafood, sushi, pasta, and more at Oceano. And early bird specials at Reno's Premier Steakhouse and Romanza Ristorante Italiano. The best values are at the Pepper Mill. Where are you dining?
Island Inkjet is now open on South Meadows Parkway. Island Inkjet will refill your inkjet cartridges in just 1 hour. We have the ink to precisely match over 240 cartridges, saving you up to 60% on the cost of buying a new cartridge. Our work is 100% guaranteed, and contrary to what you may have heard, refills do not void any printer warranties. You don't throw out your car when it runs out of gas. Don't throw out your cartridges. Refill them at Island Inkjet on South Meadows Parkway by Smith's.
Many of the materials we rely on every day come from the ground, and modern mining technology brings them to us cleaner and safer than ever before. To learn more about America's natural resources, visit nma.org, the National Mining Association.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers.
All right, we're back. Mrs. Guinn, in the article that we were talking about,
Yes.
you said that you had saved the state $300,000 with the various programs at the mansion.
Yes, I have.
How did you do that?
Well, I watched the budget. I watched the taxpayers' money. We work very hard. I have a great staff at the mansion, and they do give you a budget each year. And you can spend it there in any way you want, as long as it's to run the mansion and to entertain. And I just thought that having too much money, I think discretionary dollars, I decided to try to save. And I've been able to do that. I cut the budget 3% across the board. And I cut it again this year 3%, and I cut it again the next year 10%. So all total with that is probably closer to $400,000 that I return to the general fund. I think that's important that I be accountable to the taxpayers, and that's the decision that I made.
Can we get that money rolled into our rebate? Okay, just kidding.
Well, the rebate should be here soon.
Yeah,
hopefully,
I know, I had to pay my federal income
next
tax.
week.
We're going to cut Randy's salary.
Yeah, there we go. So one of the points you made in the article too was the Mama Van and what you've done with that. Why don't you explain a little bit about how that's worked throughout the state the past few years?
The Mama Van. What a wonderful, wonderful program. We started this, and it was a slow start, just like with any new program. But it was so important to the women of Nevada, especially out in the rural areas. I love traveling the rural areas and meeting the women. And it's for women that do not have the insurance or the means to pay for it. And that comes under the Dema Guinn Fund. And I raise funds for that. We have screened. We do pap smears. We do the screening. The Mama Van does all the mammograms and the screening, and then we educate. We try to educate the women. And over 13,000 women we have screened today. We have diagnosed 42 with breast cancer. Great story. I can't give you the town, but just recently we went to a very, very small community here in Nevada, and we diagnosed 2 women.
Wow.
And I truly believe if they hadn't had that opportunity to have that screening by the Mama Van, I don't know. So things like this is it's a wonderful program, and it's something that we have to work on all the time. Every year we try to improve, and what we'd like to have is a second van, but it's very, very costly. They cost over $400,000, but right. Wouldn't that be great if we could have 2 vans?
Well, what's going to happen with the program when you leave? Do you think someone will take it on?
Well, it's funded federal and state. It's I don't know with the Dema Guinn Fund. See, the Dema Guinn Fund is completely different because that is used for women that do not have any insurance. So when they walk into the van, I don't want them to have to explain why they can't afford to go and get the screening. I don't want them to have to explain why they don't have insurance. I just want to save lives. So the Dema Guinn Fund picks up on that. So that's why I work on this constantly and raising funds. In fact, I have to say mining just gave me $10,000 last week. And a lot of people support this program, and it's great.
Will you keep working with it after the governor leaves office?
Well, if I will not be like the Dema Guinn Fund, like I said, because of my position. I would hope the next First Lady would take an interest in it. I would hope that she would say, yes, this is something that we need to do, especially out in rural Nevada. Because you tell me, a mother will say, oh, I have an appointment. Oh, gosh, I can't get in there this week. Then she'll say, I'll go next week, and before you know it's a month or 2 months. And you know how important it is to have that early detection. And I mean, it's preventative medicine is what we're doing when we do that.
Along those lines, we know that a few years back the governor had a health scare.
Yes, he did.
And we know that prostate cancer is one of the lesser funded research projects. How is the governor doing?
Oh, he's doing great. That's another thing I wanted to introduce into this program with the PSA, because when I go out in the rural areas, a lot of the husbands will drive, the wives in, and I thought, gee, if I could only get them with this PSA, because I stayed on top of my husbands. In fact, I make them go with the same doctor that I go so that I can, check on it. But I felt very confident because we got it really early, and he's just doing great. In fact, I tell everyone, if you're listening today, your husband, you better know what his PSA. Ask him what his PSA is when he comes home tonight, and keep track of it, because that's how I really encourage.
Men tend to be more reluctant.
Well, men, yes, they have a tendency to say, oh, well, I'll go to the doctor later. But no, I stayed right on top of that with Kenny, and I'm so glad that I did.
So we'd just like to close up by saying, what are you most proud of in the past almost 8 years? What are you most proud of in your role as First Lady?
Well, I love the fact that my husband asked me to help promote so many programs while I traveled the state. I'm proud, of course, the NAMA van. I'm proud of the Millennium Scholarship. Nevada Checkup. We only had 1,800 of our working families' children on affordable insurance. We now have 30,000. I mean, Senior RX, we're the only state in America that has a Senior RX program. Sarah Winnemucca, what can I say about Sarah? I mean, all these programs, I've done the Tin Cup Tea. We started out with 176 people. We now have over 900 people at this event. And all the funds go to the State Museum and to the Keck Mining Museum. And all of these programs that I have been so fortunate, and I am so honored to be able to work on them.
That's wonderful. It's a good legacy to have.
Yes.
We'll be right back with our pundit panel in just a minute.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
Corporations moving to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center require reliable power, fiber optic communication, and clean water sources. And yet, there's another amenity we're very proud of here at TRI, rail service. So far, we've built over 2 miles of railroad track, and another 3.6 is under construction. When companies need to transport freight, we're going to help them move it quickly and efficiently. Welcome to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the largest industrial park in the world, building economic prosperity for Nevadans.
The Nevada Beer Wholesalers encourages the responsible consumption of beer. The Nevada Beer Wholesalers Association are sponsors and participants in many community-based efforts such as school education programs, safe ride home, recycling programs, alcohol-free after-prom and graduation parties, safe voting campaigns, and designated driver programs. They are family-owned businesses employing 2,000 Nevadans. They also collect and pay the state excise tax. The Nevada Beer Wholesalers Association, delivering more than just beer.
My family started this business 27 years ago.
We work hard to serve our customers and our community.
But it's getting harder and harder to keep the doors open.
For example, our workers' comp is going through the roof. Isn't anyone on my side anymore?
The Retail Association of Nevada is. If you're a small business owner, we can cut your workers' comp by up to 50%, lobby for your interests, and keep you informed. Put us to work today.
Something spectacular has taken wing not far from Reno or Lake Tahoe, and never far from your mind. An escape of fine dining and legendary golf. Introducing the resort at Red Hawk. And at the center of it all, we've feathered our nest with new villas that have elevated Red Hawk to the status of a premier resort. The Resort at Red Hawk, a beautiful new arrival in northern Nevada.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers.
Well, our Power Pundit panel grew to 3. We are joined today by Erlene Forsyth, a little surprise last-minute guest. Thank you, Erlene.
Oh, thank you for having me. I just totally enjoy it.
Is the state chairman of the Republican Party. We have Mike Hackett from Alrus Consulting, and Susan Fisher with her own Fisher Consulting, and of course, joining me, Dr. Paul Mozen is my co-host. So, give me your thoughts on Mrs. Guinn's interview and on just that article. Were you surprised by the tone of Dawn's defense against Mrs. Guinn on that?
No, I'm not surprised by Dawn's defense, but I agree with Mrs. Guinn completely. It doesn't matter if it's a first lady or first gentleman. I think it's a very important position. If there's no elected spouse, if there's no spouse, then that's one thing. But they usually have someone, a niece or an aunt or someone who steps in to do that sort of thing, or a trusted relative for the most part. But, you know, I really think that it is a two-person job, that they need to have that support. The people in the state want to see that it's a family unit there supporting the state.
Well, in the eventuality that Jim Gibbons is elected governor and Dawn Gibbons is elected congresswoman, do you think that it would be wrong for her to want to do her congresswoman duties rather than the duties of the mansion?
I agree.
I think they should pick one or the other.
Well, I think Dawn is perfectly within her right to want to be able to do both. As Dawn mentioned in the article, there are situations out there now. I believe it's Olivia Snow and her husband are involved in the same scenario. It really hasn't had an impact on the ability of either of them to carry out their duties, whether it's representing their constituents or the other duties required of being a first significant other, I guess, is probably the appropriate way to put it.
Yeah, it's really up to the voters, too.
And ultimately, the decision is the Gibbonses. It's what is best for them as a couple, what is best for them individually, and whether they feel that this is the proper course for them to take.
Well, I don't disagree that they get to have that choice to both of them run, and I'm not saying that Dawn should not run just to support her husband. Maybe it's time for him to step back and be the supportive spouse to her, because she's been a terrific supportive spouse to him for many years.
That's very true.
You know, the bottom line on this is, my personal feelings, I kind of think it's been much ado about nothing. And the fact is, we are 10.5 months out from the primary. We're still about 14 months out from the general election. I really don't think this is going to be an issue come election time.
So you don't think a package deal, like Susan said, is kind of the norm still in American politics?
I think some people expect that, yes. I think there are, as you find in the population, you find people that have very traditional values, you find people that have, I guess, what you would call a progressive, forward-looking approach to things. And that issue is going to be decided at the polls.
Do you think the executive branch would suffer for not having a first lady available?
Yes, definitely.
Erlene?
Well, Dema Guinn has done such a great job. So when we think about it, we are looking at our role model right now. And, she just explained what she's done for our state with, the mammo van. And my goodness, that's a huge thing for Nevada, only because we've diagnosed, so many cancers. And it also has helped people that hasn't been able to get to the hospitals to get, preventative health care. So, yeah, it could. Only because we need a full-time person making sure that these things get done for Nevadans.
And that's at least the traditional role, and maybe as traditions change, and women in the workplace, it's been our generation that is really changing that dynamic. And as we get into those positions, as we get a little older, and the people in their 40s and 50s who are now in office probably have a little more dynamic relationship, and that is going to change the face of politics as we have known it, no doubt.
But I think also it could set a new course. Who knows? If he her husband does get elected and she gets elected, and then she's going to have to, and he, come together and make sure that everything is covered, from hiring to the cleaning to the upkeep to maintaining all the programs and the PR and the entertainment. So that's going to be a big job.
And that is a big
I would think.
It is. That's true. So you talked about a change here. We obviously have a change now in our leadership in the Supreme Court. Roberts is most likely being confirmed today. What was the reason behind Harry Reid being so vocally opposed to Mr. Roberts?
Well, my feeling is I think he's really setting the stage and kind of carving out his territory for the next battle that's going to occur for the Supreme Court, and that is the replacement for the retiring Justice O'Connor. I think that is really going to be where the Democrats are focusing their strategy on right now. I think they knew right from the get-go that they would not have a chance of stopping the nomination of Roberts to the Supreme Court, even as Chief Justice. So I really think they've set their sights on this next battle.
Oh, yeah. Doesn't he just start to look like the no man, voting no on everything?
Yeah.
Rather than saving his no vote for something that counts.
Well, it did count. His vote did count when he said no.
Yeah.
Mainly because he was backed, by MoveOn.org and Howard Dean and the far left wing of the Democrat Party. So he did his job, and that's what they told him to do, and he did it.
Any thoughts on Tom DeLay stepping down as Majority Speaker in the House?
Well, that was unfortunate, but I don't think it's going to affect what's happening with leadership in the House.
Well, he is out of his leadership position right now, so what remains to be seen, who knows, but it's kind of funny. I was watching an interview with DeLay on the news this morning, and he seems to wear these indictments like badges of honor, and I'm not really sure I understand his rationale in that, and I think his memory gets a little foggy sometimes too, because he was also saying that all previous indictments and charges against him have been dismissed, and that has not been the case. The first two that were brought back in the mid-'90s, he was admonished for those charges, for those offenses. So,
and we've already heard the cry, vast left-wing conspiracy.
Right.
Where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yes, even though charges have been brought up against more Democrats than Republicans by the same person pursuing these charges against
details.
Don't get caught.
We gotta go now.
Well, we'll come out with more details later. Actually, thanks for watching Nevada Newsmakers.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the world's largest industrial park, the resort at Red Hawk, and the Peppermill family of casinos.
South Reno's hotspot for food, fun, and friends is the Tamarack Junction. Play over 480 of the hottest slots and video poker games. Enjoy hot times and sizzling food specials at Sully's Sports Bar, Grill, and Nightclub. Watch your favorite game on one of our jumbo high-definition plasma TVs. Enjoy great food 24 hours a day in the Dining Car Restaurant. Or sample the best hot and cold sandwiches in the Whistle Stop Deli. The Tamarack Junction is your junction for fun. South Virginia and Amati Ranch Parkway.
Yeah. Island Inkjet is now open on South Meadows Parkway. Island Inkjet will refill your inkjet cartridges in just 1 hour. We have the ink to precisely match over 240 cartridges, saving you up to 60% on the cost of buying a new cartridge. Our work is 100% guaranteed, and contrary to what you may have heard, refills do not void any printer warranties. You don't throw out your car when it runs out of gas. Don't throw out your cartridges. Refill them at Island Inkjet on South Meadows Parkway by Smith's.
Thanks for watching Nevada Newsmakers.
Come back next week for a whole new lineup of more fun shows.